everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies featuring the Exquisite Exandria, the official Critical Role cookbook. The side last week was the Trinkets Bear Claws, and those were really good. So this week we're on to the entree, fried chicken with coffee bacon gravy. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have any backstory to it. This cookbook's a little bit inconsistent actually, where some of the recipes have backstories with them, some of them don't. This is one of those recipes, probably because it's so long. Well, maybe it's not the length, but this one doesn't happen to have backstories with it. Anyway, the ingredients for this recipe are waiting for us at the table, so let's move in that direction. In order to make this recipe, we need 4.5 cups, that's probably a little bit more than 4.5 cups, of cold strong black coffee, 2 cups of water, 1/4 cup of packed light brown sugar, kosher salt, 6 garlic cloves that are lightly smashed. I'm using 6 teaspoons of minced garlic instead, 8 chicken drumsticks, 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk, 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, plus another 3.5 tablespoons, 1.5 teaspoons of granulated garlic. I'm using garlic powder instead. Also, same with sweet paprika, 1 1/4 teaspoons of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, freshly ground black pepper, canola oil that we'll need for frying, 4 ounces of thick cut bacon that'll be cut into 1/2 inch pieces by the time we need it, and 1.5 cups of low sodium chicken stock. Let's move into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. As usual, you'll hear the oven chirping while we're making this recipe, at least the first part of this. That chirping is not anything that we need for this recipe. That's, again, my Saturday prep as usual. So we're going to start off with a large food storage container, which I've got here, which we'll start with 4 cups of the coffee, which I'll pour that over the sink. It's 2. And we'll pour another 2 over the sink. And 4. Coffee can go back in the fridge. We want 2 more cups of water. Little bit high. Make sure I can set this down on the table on the counter so I can read the meniscus once it settles. That looks like it'll be fine. Quarter cup of packed brown sugar and of kosher salt. And as far as reading the meniscus, don't ask me why that stuck with me for so long through high school chemistry class. But I think chemistry is probably the spot where I most remember the reading of the meniscus. So there's the brown sugar, and we want 1/4 cup of salt. Kosher salt can go back up, and we want the garlic cloves. So once again, I'm using minced garlic. So you get about 1 teaspoon of minced garlic per clove of garlic. So we need 6 of these. I got the 2 teaspoon measuring spoon right here. So 2 4. And 6. Find the lid. We'll put that back in the fridge. And then we'll stir all of that until the salt and the sugar are dissolved. Yes, I know this isn't the most interesting part, but I do want to make sure that this part doesn't screw up on Mystical Munchies. I will mention that there's a step coming, that this is actually preparing for something that will sit for a while, which means we'll be able to go into my 2009-10 hockey season replay once I get this step ready to go. Unfortunately, I can't really tip this container and check to see if the salt and the sugar are fully dissolved. Especially if I don't want to do it over the sink. Especially if I don't want to do this over the sink. But it does seem like we're getting rid of most of it. Again, I can't completely tell for sure. Maybe what I can do is lift it up and see that we've got mostly garlic under there. So we've got mostly garlic settling at the bottom. So odds are we're getting most of the sugar and the salt dissolved in here. I'll just check it again. And yep, looks like we've got mostly garlic settling in, so I think I've got all of the salt and the sugar dissolved in here. So now we want the chicken. Now we're going to put the chicken in. Okay, I'm going to give my hands a quick wash. Then I'll go find the lid for this container. I'm going to turn this over the sink just to make sure we get all of the chicken pieces coated. Okay. And now we're going to throw that in the refrigerator, and we're going to let that marinate for 6 hours. So we'll come back to that in about 6 hours. By the magic of editing, it's going to seem like a couple minutes, it's going to seem like a moment, but in reality, it'll be 6 hours later. It's been about 6 hours since we started the chicken marinating, and if you're a regular on the channel, you see 3 pie plates. You think I'm going to be getting an assembly line going, and you're right. Our attention is first going to turn to our middle pie plate here. This is where we're going to put the 1.25 cups of buttermilk, which I'm going to pour all of that. So I've got the buttermilk right here. I'm going to pour that off camera so I can set the measuring cup down and be able to read the meniscus. There we are. I'll grab a spatula so I can scrape as much of this out as I can. Okay. We're going to turn our attention next to this pie plate over here, which is where we're going to combine the 2 and we're going to start making our flour mix. So we're going to start off with our 2 1/4 cups of flour. I'm going to pour from this side. Let's see, 1, 2, and 1/4, which I'm not going to go too far with the 1/4 cup because I will need that again in a few minutes. So we'll put that there. Do I need the flour down again? I don't think so. I do need a little more down, actually. Then we want the spices in there. So I'm going to bring those, dropping the cayenne pepper. So now we want all of our spices. This is going to be 1 1/2 of the garlic powder and the sweet paprika. One and 1/2 of the garlic powder. Then the same for the paprika. Then we want 1 1/4 teaspoons of the onion powder, which I've got that right here. Okay. 1 1/4, so we want to fill this up about halfway. That'll work. And then 1/2 teaspoon of the cayenne pepper. There we are. And a little bit of jarring the camera. That's actually not part of the recipe, but the black pepper is. Oh, that's way more black pepper than I want, most likely. We're going to combine all of this. They say whisk to combine in the recipe, but this is the way I've taken to combining flour and spices and making breading mixes. Okay. Give my hands a quick wash. Okay. Then we're going to scoop 3/4 of a cup of the seasoned flour out. We're going to go into another pie plate. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Flatten that a little bit. And then we want to take another 3 tablespoons of buttermilk into the larger bowl, and we'll use that to create craggy pieces throughout the flour. I'm going to pull this back down a little bit. There we are. 1.5. And 3. Right, that goes in the, yep, that goes in the larger bowl. Okay. I'll stir that in. And I'll use my fingers to mix it up, something like that. Okay, that'll work. Alright, I'll give my hands a quick wash since once again I'm going to be getting ready to turn the camera off here momentarily. Mostly so I can prepare the next shot. Actually, let me double check the next step. This might not require the camera being turned off. Actually, I am going to turn the camera off mostly so I can let some of the footage settle in and take a small break. You guys probably don't need me to demo put a wire rack on a baking sheet, remove the chicken drumsticks from the brine, allowing any to drip off, and arrange on the wire rack, or pat the chicken dry with paper towels. Where we'll pick up is starting to prepare the chicken for the next step. So we'll work with 1 drumstick at a time, dredging in the bowl of plain seasoned flour that we made earlier. Just like that. Patting off the excess. Then we'll dip it into the buttermilk. Then we'll dip that into the larger bowl of seasoned flour and we'll press it in to create a thick coating. Okay. And then I'm going to repeat that with the, I'm going to wash my hands real quick, since I always do one in real time, just for demonstration purposes. But I'm going to repeat that with the rest of the chicken. Then we're going to set that aside while we move into the next steps of the recipe. If you recognize this chain, which you will if you're a regular on the channel, you know we're heating oil up. The magic number here is 350. I will also mention that there is a recipe, that part of the recipe is for gravy, but as I've never been able to get gravy right, I'm going to skip the gravy in this recipe. So as we're heating up oil, what we're going to do after the oil comes up to temperature is we're going to add some of the drumsticks to the hot oil. They say 4 ideally. I'm not sure I'll be able to fit 4 in this pan and not have any of the oil splash out. But we'll let that cook until it's golden brown and cooked through, which should take about 12 to 15 minutes. I'll want to keep the heat to keep the oil temperature between 300 and 325. I've got a slotted spoon already, and the temp right on cue. So now we're going to drop this in, and we'll see how many of these I can get in without splashing oil out. 2, 3, and I think 3 is where I'm going to leave it. And I am going to leave the oil, the temperature probe in there for the oil, because I will want to keep, as I mentioned, I will want to keep that temperature up close. I'll set a timer for 12 minutes. And then normally we do the first cook in real time, but in this case, you guys probably don't need my help to figure out that we're going to be doing this 3 times. So once the timer goes off, I will be lifting the chicken out and I'll repeat with the rest of the chicken. We'll come back when the chicken is all fried and ready to go. Here's our first look at the finished product. And seeing as this is supposed to be dinner tonight, no pressure on how this turns out. But I'm going to plate some of these drumsticks and then I'll meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. I've got some of the chicken right here. One of the things I will admit to being a little bit nervous about coming into this taste test is the fact that coffee is so involved in this recipe, because I've never really gotten the taste of coffee, but I'm willing to try different stuff with marinades. But let's see what I think of this. Chicken definitely looks nice and juicy at a glance. So, they do want you to serve it immediately too, so let me give this a taste and we'll see what I think. I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out, and I think some of it is just from the oil frying making everything a lot juicier. I was a little bit worried about the coffee initially, but I don't really find too much of the coffee flavor in here, even though it was marinating in coffee for like in a coffee-based brine for about 6 some odd hours. Still, I'm definitely going to eat this for dinner tonight, and actually kind of like it. That's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week, we will be making the dessert, berry surprise pie. Order of videos is going to be a little bit crazy on the channel. I'm expecting this to go up as my second video, and then once this goes up, we'll be back over into the 2009-10 hockey season replay. We'll be at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, as the Columbus Blue Jackets will be playing against the Nashville Predators. Tomorrow morning, we are playing Star Wars The Clone Wars by Z-Man Games. Wednesday, we're playing Astro Knights by Indie Boards and Cards. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone. Thank you.